All right, so we're diving into learning French today, the Paul Noble way. And we've got this review booklet that
Yeah.
goes with his audio course.
Yeah,
So this is kind of like our cheat sheet
exactly. Exactly,
to
too.
French fluency.
Yeah, that we're breaking it down to those core principles and
Yeah.
those little, like, aha moments you get
Right.
that make this method so effective.
Okay.
So, yeah, get ready for some surprisingly simple techniques to, like, amp up your vocabulary and
Yeah.
tackle those tricky French verbs.
Okay, so there are a ton of language learning programs out there.
Right.
What makes Paul Noble stand out?
Well, I think the focus here is really practical communication.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about just, like, endless grammar drills or memorizing lists of words you might never use.
Yeah.
Paul Noble really, like, helps you build sentences
Oh,
you
okay.
can actually use in everyday situations.
Okay, so more like ordering that perfect croissant,
Yes.
chatting with the locals,
Exactly.
than just like,
Yeah, yeah.
conjugating verbs in a vacuum.
Precisely. The goal is to get you speaking confidently,
Right.
even if you've maybe hit a wall with language learning in the past.
Yeah.
And the success stories highlighted in this booklet
Yeah.
are so encouraging for anyone starting out.
Okay. Yeah, one thing that really caught my eye
Right?
was this idea of creating French words from English.
Yeah.
It almost seems too good to be true.
It is a very clever approach,
Okay.
and it really taps into that shared history between the two languages.
Right.
So take words ending in ion,
Oh,
like information, invitation.
okay.
They came straight from French, and they remain virtually unchanged.
Wow. So that's like a pretty sweet deal.
That is a very sweet deal.
Yeah. Are there any other patterns like that?
Absolutely, you'd be surprised.
Okay.
How many English words have French roots?
Yeah.
The booklet highlights patterns like age stays the same,
Okay.
like cage or bandage.
Right. Right.
And abri becomes air, like ordinary,
Oh.
transforming into ordinaire. Ordinaire, yeah.
Okay, cool. So with a little practice,
Yeah.
you could be decoding French words
Yeah, everywhere.
all over the place. So that's like a serious vocabulary boost
It is.
without the headache.
Yeah.
But what about grammar?
Right.
Surely we can't escape those verb conjugations completely.
Of course not, but here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
French actually uses fewer past tenses than English.
Oh, really?
So I have decorated. I decorate. Even I did decorate.
Right.
All become j'ai décoré la maison.
Hold on. So we don't need to stress
Yeah.
over all those different English past tense forms.
Not as much.
That's a huge relief.
It simplifies things, yeah.
Okay.
Quite a bit. The booklet breaks down this idea of
Yeah.
half-stealing pronouns and putting them up front.
Right.
So, for example, je l'ai préparé
Uh-huh.
translates to I have prepared it.
Okay, so this is making a lot of sense so far.
Right.
But there's got to be a catch somewhere, right?
Well, there is a slight nuance when it comes to verbs that used to be instead of have in
Okay.
the past tense.
Right.
And this applies specifically to verbs about going or coming.
Okay.
So like arriver, aller, venir, and partir.
Okay, so if I wanted to say he went to the store,
Yeah,
I wouldn't use have in the French sentence.
exactly. You would use to be.
Okay.
Instead,
Yeah.
forming the sentence like he is gone,
Right.
which in French is il est allé.
Il est allé. Got it. Okay. And I have a feeling this is where that infamous fiancé rule
You guessed it.
comes in,
Uh-huh.
the one I keep hearing about.
Yes. The fiancé rule explains how the spelling of past participles changes
Right.
when you used to be.
Okay.
And it all hinges on gender and number.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Okay.
How does the whole fiancé thing connect to French grammar?
Well, think about the English words fiancé and fiancée.
Okay.
The spelling changes based on whether you're talking about a man or a woman.
Right.
And it's the same idea in French.
Uh-huh.
So, arrivé, for instance,
Okay.
is used when a man has arrived.
Okay.
Arrivé, when a woman has arrived.
So it's like
Yeah.
adding an extra E for the feminine form,
Precisely.
just like we do in English,
Exactly. And it even extends to plural forms.
right?
So, arrivé is used for multiple men.
Oh, wow.
Arrivé is used for multiple women who
Oh.
have arrived.
That's actually quite clever.
It is, yeah.
It makes remembering the spelling changes much easier.
It does.
But hold on, this fiancé rule only applies to those going and coming verbs, right?
That's an important distinction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not regular verbs that use have.
Exactly. So if you're using have for the past tense,
Okay.
the spelling of the past participle stays the same,
Right.
no matter the gender or number.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I was starting to worry about memorizing a million different endings.
No need to panic. This rule is really like a helpful trick
Right.
for those specific verbs.
Yeah.
A memorable hook to streamline the learning process.
I like it. Okay, so we've tackled the past tense.
We have.
What about expressing what we want?
Right.
Can or must do in French.
Uh-huh.
Is there a secret formula for that too?
Absolutely. The booklet breaks these constructions down beautifully.
Okay.
Let's start with I would like to,
Okay.
which translates to je voudrais.
Oh, okay.
It's a very polite and versatile phrase.
Okay, so I could say, je voudrais un café.
Exactly.
So order a coffee.
Exactly. And you can build from there
Right.
to express more complex desires.
Okay.
For example, je voudrais préparer le dîner avec vous means
Yeah?
I would like to prepare dinner with you.
Je voudrais préparer le dîner avec vous.
Avec vous. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I see how this is all coming together. But what about those tricky pronunciation rules? I remember struggling with like
Right.
silent letters and those nasal sounds.
Don't worry, the booklet has some handy tips for that as well. They introduce a simple mnemonic
Okay.
for luck
Yeah.
to help with consonant pronunciation.
Okay.
So, for example, the M at the end of fame, meaning hunger,
Right.
it's barely round, it's more of a nasal sound.
Right.
But the F at the end of soif, meaning thirst,
Okay.
you pronounce it fully.
For luck.
For luck, yeah.
Helps us remember
Helps you remember.
when to pronounce
Yeah.
those final consonants.
Exactly. It makes those pronunciation rules a bit more manageable.
Okay.
Another shortcut highlighted in the booklet
Okay.
is using Y to replace la,
Oh.
meaning there.
Right.
So instead of je veux aller là,
Mhm.
for I want to go there, you can say je veux y aller.
Je veux y aller. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And speaking of wanting things,
Right.
let's explore how want, can, and must
Yeah.
work with other verbs.
Exactly.
These are essential building blocks
Yeah, they are.
for expressing yourself.
Right.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's start with want, which is vouloir, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And the booklet really demonstrates
Yeah.
how to use vouloir to express desires.
Okay.
So a simple example is je veux manger,
Okay.
meaning I want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And it also covers negations like je ne veux pas y aller.
All right.
I don't want to go there.
So we can build on that to say things like,
Yeah,
I want to eat a croissant,
exactly.
or I don't want to drink wine.
Precisely. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can do the same with can, which is pouvoir,
Right.
and must, which is devoir.
All right. So we can use these modal verbs
Yes.
to express a whole range of actions and desires.
Exactly.
It's starting to feel less like a jumble
Right?
of grammar rules
Yeah.
and more like a system I can actually use.
That's the genius of the Paul Noble method.
Yeah.
It breaks down those seemingly complex concepts
Yeah.
into manageable pieces.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, cool.
We've covered so much ground already. Vocabulary hacks those tricky past tense forms and how to use want, can, and must. But we haven't even touched on the present tense yet.
Don't worry, the booklet has that covered too. And you might be surprised to learn that it's surprisingly straightforward.
Okay. You've got me intrigued. What's the secret to mastering the present tense in French?
Well, the booklet breaks it down into two simple steps. For verbs ending in you simply drop the R. To form the present tense for I, he, she, you, informal, and they.
So the present tense for verbs like penser is as simple as dropping the R. That's incredibly intuitive. Does the pronunciation change significantly?
The pronunciation does shift a bit, yes.
Mm.
For penser, meaning to think, dropping the R gives you pense, which is pronounced like ponce in the English word response. And the same principle applies to verbs like manger for to eat and parlor for to speak.
That's so much easier than I expected. But what about you, formal, and we? Do those forms follow the same drop the R rule?
They have a slight twist. For you, formal, the verb sounds exactly like the infinitive, but you swap the R at the end with a Z in the spelling. So penser becomes penser.
So it sounds the same as I think, but has a different spelling.
Precisely. And for we, you replace the R on, ending with air. So penser becomes pensins.
Okay, I think I'm getting the hang of this. But what about verbs that don't end in air? Those must be a whole different challenge.
They are different. But the logic remains remarkably simple. For regular verbs not ending in air, you follow the same drop the R rule, but also drop any letters following the R and don't pronounce the final consonant.
Could you give me an example?
Let's take the verb attendre. which means to wait. To form the present tense, for he, she, I, and you, informal, you drop the R, and the following E, resulting in attend, pronounced like attend.
So the pronunciation changes quite a bit, but the underlying principle is consistent.
Exactly. You're essentially simplifying the verb ending to create the present tense.
And what about you, formal, and we for these verbs?
For you, formal, simply swap the re, ending with ba. So attend becomes attendez. For we, you swap it with don, resulting in attendance.
The pattern for you and we is consistent, even though the pronunciation of the verb stem changes.
You've got it. It's all about recognizing those patterns and applying them consistently. And believe it or not, that covers the vast majority of French verbs in the present tense.
Wow, I never thought I'd say this about French verb conjugations, but that actually makes sense. I'm starting to see the logic of the language.
That's what the Paul Noble method is all about, breaking down perceived barriers and making language learning accessible and enjoyable.
Speaking of enjoyable, let's tackle the future tense. I've always found the idea of predicting the future a bit daunting, especially in another language.
Well, the booklet assures us that the future tense in French isn't as scary as it might seem. It presents two main ways to express the future, using going to or will.
Let's start with going to. How does that work in French?
It's very similar to English. Use the verb aller, meaning to go, followed by the infinitive of the action you're going to do.
So I'm going to eat would be je vais manger.
Exactly. You can build upon that base phrase to express a variety of future actions.
That seems straightforward enough. What about using will to express the future? Is that more complicated?
Not at all. The key is remembering to attach the appropriate form of have onto the R at the end of the verb.
Okay, I'm listening. Walk me through it.
For I will, you take a, the have ending for I or je, and attach it to the R at the end of the verb. So manger becomes mangerai, meaning I will eat.
So it's like adding a little have tag to the verb.
Precisely. And the same principle applies to other forms of will. For he will, you take a from illa, meaning he has, and attach to the R, resulting in mangera, meaning he will eat.
I'm starting to see the pattern. So for you will, we would use is from vous avez.
Exactly. For we will, we use on from nous avons. It's all about recognizing those have-has endings and attaching them to the verb.
This is starting to make sense. What about they will? Does that follow the same rule?
It does. You take ont from ils ont, meaning they have, and attach it to the R, creating mangeront, which means they will eat.
So as long as we know the French for have-has, we can pretty much conquer the future tense. That takes a lot of pressure off.
I told you it wasn't as daunting as it seemed. And to make pronunciation even easier, the booklet provides some helpful tips. For example, for I will and you will, the key sound at the end of the words is re, even though they're spelled differently.
So both je mangerai and vous mangerez end with that re sound.
Exactly. For we will and they will, the key sound is ron, again, despite the spelling differences. And finally, for he will, she will, and you will, informal, the key sound is ra.
It's like a little pronunciation code. Re, ron, ra. I love it. That makes remembering those endings much easier. Now I'm curious about the practical travel scenarios the booklet mentions. Can we dive into those a bit?
Absolutely. The booklet includes a whole section dedicated to traveling in France, covering everything from booking a hotel room to ordering food, asking for directions, and handling transportation.
Let's imagine ourselves arriving at a charming French hotel. What are some key phrases we might need to check in smoothly?
At the reception desk, you could say, Je voudrais une chambre pour 2 personnes pour 2 nuits. That means I would like a room for 2 people for 2 nights.
Okay, that's a good starting point. What if they ask for my name or how I'll be paying?
They might ask, Votre nom, s'il vous plaît? Meaning, your name, please. And to inquire about payment, they could say, Comment payez-vous? Meaning, how are you paying?
That makes sense. What if I want to see the room before I commit?
You could simply say, Je peux la voir, meaning, can I see it? And if you're happy with the room, you can always exclaim, C'est parfait, or It's perfect.
I can already picture myself confidently checking into a Parisian hotel. Now let's talk food. What are some essential phrases for navigating a restaurant?
If you want to reserve a table, you can say, Je voudrais réserver une table pour 2 personnes, meaning I would like to reserve a table for 2 people. And when you arrive, you can simply say, Nous avons réservé, meaning we have reserved.
That sounds easy enough. What about when it's time to order? How do I ask for the menu and let the waiter know what I want?
To ask for the menu, you would say, Le menu, s'il vous plaît, meaning the menu, please. And when you're ready to order, you can use je voudrais to indicate your choices. Like, je voudrais une bouteille de vin blanc, meaning I would like a bottle of white wine.
Okay, I'm getting hungry just thinking about all the delicious French cuisine. What if I need to ask where the restrooms are? That's always a crucial travel phrase.
You can politely inquire, où sont les toilettes? Meaning, where are the restrooms? And when you're ready for the bill, you can say, l'addition, s'il vous plaît, meaning, the bill, please.
This is great. I'm feeling much more prepared to handle those classic restaurant situations, but what about getting around? What if we want to explore the French countryside by train?
The booklet has some really useful phrases for navigating train travel, too. For instance, if you're at the station and need to buy a ticket, you could ask, où est-ce que je peux acheter un billet? Meaning, where can I buy a ticket?
That's a good one to remember. And once I'm at the ticket office, how do I ask for a ticket to my destination?
You could say, deux billets pour Chartres, s'il vous plaît, which means 2 tickets for Chartres, please, assuming Chartres is your destination.
And what if I need to know if it's a direct train or if I need to change trains?
You could ask, dois-je changer? Meaning, do I have to change? The ticket clerk will let you know whether it's a direct route or give you details about any necessary transfers.
That's reassuring. I always feel a bit anxious when I have to change trains in a foreign country. What about once I'm on the train? What are some key phrases I might need?
The booklet reminds us that conductors often check tickets, so be prepared for that. They might say, préparez vos billets, s'il vous plaît, meaning, prepare your tickets, please.
Got it. I'll have those tickets ready. What if I'm not sure if I'm on the right train or if I've missed my stop?
You could politely ask a fellow passenger, je vais à Chartres ou dois-je descendre ici? Meaning, I'm going to Chartres. Do I have to get off here? They can confirm if you're in the right place or let you know if you need to stay on board.
These phrases are so helpful. I'm feeling much more confident about train travel now. Now, let's say we've arrived in a new town and we're ready to explore. What are some key phrases for finding our way around?
If you're looking for a specific landmark or attraction, you could ask, pardon, où est? Meaning, excuse me, where is? Followed by the place you're looking for. For example, pardon, où est le marché? Means, excuse me, where is the market?
Okay, that makes sense. But what if the person I ask speaks too quickly or I don't quite understand their directions?
The booklet has phrases for those situations too. You could politely say, je ne comprends pas. Pouvez-vous répéter, s'il vous plaît? Meaning, I don't understand. Can you repeat that, please?
And if they're still speaking too fast, I could ask them to slow down right.
Exactly. You could say, pouvez-vous parler plus lentement, s'il vous plaît? Meaning, can you speak more slowly, please?
Those are lifesavers. I can already see myself navigating those charming French streets and finding my way to all the best spots. Now, I can't imagine visiting France without experiencing a bustling French market. What kind of phrases would we need there?
The booklet offers a fantastic scenario for shopping at a market, which is a quintessential French experience. Let's say you're at a cheese stall and want to buy some brie. You could say, je voudrais 200 grammes de brie, meaning I would like 200 grams of brie.
Okay, I've got that one down. And if I need a bag to carry my delicious cheese?
You could simply ask, vous avez un sac? Meaning, do you have a bag? And when you're ready to pay, you can ask, c'est combien? Meaning, how much is it?
I'm feeling much more prepared to handle those market transactions now. What other shopping scenarios does the booklet cover?
It also includes a scene at a bakery, another must-do in France.
Oh yes, the pastries. How do I ask for a baguette and maybe a couple of croissants?
You could say, je voudrais une baguette, s'il vous plaît, meaning, I would like a baguette, please, and then add, et 2 croissants, s'il vous plaît, for. And 2 croissants, please?
This is making me hungry just thinking about all the delicious bread and pastries. What if, unfortunately, I get sick on my trip? Are there any key phrases for dealing with health issues?
The booklet covers a couple of scenarios, one at a pharmacy and another at a doctor's office.
Okay, let's start with the pharmacy. What if I need to explain my symptoms?
You could start with, je suis malade, meaning, I am sick, and then describe your symptoms. For example, you could say, j'ai vomi, meaning I have been sick, or j'ai de la fièvre, meaning I have a fever.
And what if I need a specific medication?
You could ask, avez-vous quelque chose pour? Meaning, do you have anything for? Followed by your ailment like la queue for cough or le mal de tête for headache.
That's incredibly helpful. Now, let's say my symptoms are more serious and I need to see a doctor. What are some key phrases for that situation?
If you're at your hotel, you could ask the receptionist, pouvez-vous me recommander un docteur? Meaning, can you recommend a doctor? If it's urgent, you can emphasize that by adding c'est urgent.
Okay, that's good to know. Once I'm at the doctor's office, how do I explain what's wrong?
The doctor might ask, quels sont vos symptômes? Meaning, what are your symptoms? You can then describe your symptoms, as we discussed earlier.
And if they ask about my medical history, what are some key phrases I should remember?
They might ask questions like, êtes-vous diabétique? Meaning, are you diabetic? Or êtes-vous asthmatique? Meaning, are you asthmatic?
No, this is fantastic. I feel so much more prepared to handle a health issue if one comes up during my trip. Now, I'm curious about those additional sections in the booklet, the ones covering numbers and the French alphabet. What kind of information do they provide?
The numbers section offers a comprehensive list from 0 to 1 million, along with pronunciation guidance.
So I could use that to learn to count, understand prices, and even decipher French phone numbers.
Exactly. It's a fundamental element of any language.
And what about the alphabet section? What does that cover?
It breaks down each letter in the French alphabet, along with its pronunciation.
So I could use that to learn to spell my name, pronounce French words correctly, and even sound out those tricky street signs.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's a valuable tool for building those core literacy skills. This deep dive has been incredibly comprehensive. We've covered so many essential aspects of French, from basic greetings to handling unexpected situations.
I agree. It feels like we've unlocked a whole new approach to language learning with the Paul Noble method, but I know we've only scratched the surface.
There's always more to explore in the world of French language and culture.
Well,
But for now, let's take a break and come back for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll wrap up our exploration of the Paul Noble method and share some final tips for mastering French.
okay, so we've really journeyed through these core elements of the Paul Noble method.
We have.
And I have to say, it
Yeah.
feels like such a breath of fresh air.
It is.
Compared to
Yeah.
like traditional
I think so.
language learning approaches.
It's designed to build confidence and understanding, rather than just relying solely on rote memorization.
Yeah, and I think one of the most striking aspects we've seen
Okay.
throughout this deep dive is this emphasis on repetition and practice.
Yeah.
The booklet seems like it's designed to truly solidify the concepts
Exactly.
learned through the audio course.
It's like having a personal tutor
Yeah.
built into the learning process.
Right.
Someone who can explain things clearly and guide you every step of the way.
That's a great analogy, but we've only scratched the surface here.
Right.
There's like a whole universe of French
Yeah.
waiting to be explored through the audio course
Exactly.
and other resources.
This deep dive was really meant to be a taste of what's possible.
Right.
The key is to kind of continue that momentum with consistent practice
Yeah.
and find opportunities to immerse yourself
Right.
in the language.
So what are some practical ways to keep that momentum going and
Yeah.
truly master French?
I would say make French a part of your daily life,
Okay.
even in small ways.
Right.
Listen to French music, explore French films,
Mm-hmm.
even try reading simple French texts.
Right.
The more you surround yourself with the language,
Yeah.
the more natural it will become.
Those are great tips. It's about making French a part of your life, not just a subject you study.
Right.
And that's what makes the Paul Noble method so refreshing. It
Yeah.
equips you to
Totally.
actually use the language
I think so.
in real life situations.
It's about connecting words,
right.
grammar, and the real world.
Yeah.
And the booklet is a valuable tool
That's
for
cool.
reinforcing those connections.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. I
Yeah.
feel like I have a whole new set of strategies for learning French.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see where this journey takes me.
Learning a language is a continuous journey
Yes.
of discovery.
Right.
Embrace the process, stay curious,
Yeah.
and celebrate those small wins along the way.
Who knows? Maybe someday we'll be having this conversation
That would be great.
in fluent French.
That would be fantastic.
Until then, keep practicing, keep exploring.
Keep that French spark alive.
Yes, keep that French spark alive. Merci beaucoup.
À bientôt.
À bientôt. À Baro Juffa.